My name is Mary, I'm 35 years old. I met my husband, William, at work where we both worked for a well-known beverage manufacturer. I met him when I joined the company as a temp worker. I was assigned to the department where my husband worked, and though he was 3 years younger than me, he was my superior and responsible for my training. He was a kind boss, but that was just a facade. After marrying him, I quit my temp job. I never really liked office work. I wanted a job that suited me better. After getting married, I decided on a home cleaning service, thinking it would be something I could continue even after having children. I'm better at physical tasks, enjoy cleaning, and am particularly confident in my cooking skills. William continued to work at the same company after our marriage, busy as ever. I started working for the home cleaning service 3 to 4 times a week, about 3 hours each time. To William, it seemed like I was taking it easy. "Lucky you, your job is so easy. You don't have to think, just do some chores." And he would say. I would respond, "It's not an easy job. I have to do it properly to satisfy the clients. It's not something I can just do carelessly." But he would retort, "It's just housework. It's different from my job." I would argue, "That's an outdated view. Housework is a respectable job. Don't say such things when you've never done it properly yourself." We had these exchanges frequently. Turns out, my husband wasn't the kind person I thought he was. He had an old-fashioned, male-dominated mindset and didn't try to understand me. He would often threaten, "I'll divorce you." That's what I say. If I asked him to wait a bit for dinner when he came home early from work, "What's this? Do it properly. I'll divorce you," he would threaten. If I happened to be washing the clothes he wanted to wear on his day out, "What are you always doing? Do it properly. I'll divorce you." He would use divorce as a threat based on his mood. But I wonder if he really wants a divorce, or if he's just using the threat to control me. His family's home is about a 30-minute drive from our condo. Living there are my mother-in-law Karen, father-in-law Paul, and my sister-in-law Barbara. Today is Karen's birthday, so I prepared some food to take over for a celebration at their house. Karen doesn't seem skilled at or keen on housework. Whenever I visit, the house is barely cleaned, with used tissues lying around, and empty bottles scattered. Laundry is piled up, unfolded. Barbara doesn't seem to bother with cleaning either. So, when I visit, I'm expected to clean. "Mary, good timing. With a pro here, the house will get cleaned. Start with the cleaning, please." But I didn't come here to clean. My back hurts, I can't clean. "You're my daughter-in-law, you'll do it, right?" Reluctantly, I end up doing it. After finishing the cleaning, Paul returns home, and we start celebrating Karen's birthday. I arrange and warm up the food I brought, set the table with forks and plates, and prepare drinks. I did all that by myself. Even though Karen is the guest of honor today and it's understandable if she doesn't do anything, Barbara just sits at her place at the table, looking at her phone. To Barbara, "Why don't you help out?" I thought this was a common thing to say, but Karen and Paul just sat at the table talking with my husband. Reluctantly, I prepared everything myself. And before I even got back from the kitchen to my seat, "Let's toast to Mom's birthday." "Happy birthday, Karen." "Happy birthday, Mom." And so the party started. I was forced to clean, I did all the party preparations, and they started without waiting for me. It's exhausting. But I gathered my spirits and also said, "Happy birthday, Karen." To which Karen replied, Yeah, thanks." Dismissively. Then, Mary, there's some cheese I bought in the fridge. Cut it and bring it here. Yes, understood. I did as told, cut the cheese, and brought it. Then, there's bacon in the fridge that a friend gave me. Fry it and bring it. I was asked to do more. However, since there was plenty of food already. But I've made quite a lot to eat. We can't eat all that, can we? I asked. Stop nagging. Just fry it and bring it here. Come on, Mom wants it. Just fry it and bring it. Or I'll divorce you. I heard such conversations behind me as I headed to the kitchen. Man, she's like a servant. What's the big deal? She's my wife. It's only fair she works, right? Ha ha ha, poor thing. It was the worst family. After that, I kept being asked to do small tasks. Finally, I managed to eat a little, and the meal ended. Then, hey! Make sure you clean up properly. You're a pro, right? Until the end, they made me do everything without lifting a finger themselves. They only treat me like a pro when it suits them. If they acknowledge me as a pro, they should pay me, but I held back. One day, I got a call from my parents' home. It was my mother. Mom, are you doing well? We're fine. But there's a little problem. A problem? What happened? Well, it's been about 2 months now. Dad and I didn't want to bother you and Mary, so we kept it to ourselves. What? What happened? You see, William's parents occasionally come to our store. What do you mean? The trouble my parents were facing was this. Our family runs a delicatessen. It's popular and has many customers, including regulars from years back. Sometimes it's featured in magazines or on TV. The PILs occasionally come there. It's about an hour's drive from my husband's parents' house to our delicatessen. Yet, they come by car about 3 times a month. They visited yesterday as well. It's always busy here. We're grateful for that. Please give us today's recommendation. They come like this, scrutinize the deli, and at the checkout. We're family, so we get a discount, right? They ask for a discount. My parents, mindful of other customers, can't argue there and give a small discount of about 50 cents per item. Isn't this a bit expensive? They ask for more discounts. And on their way out, picking up a pack of goods. We'll take this as a freebie. They would just take it and leave. I had no idea such things were happening. Truly, an unbelievable family. Just taking products without paying is unacceptable. I told my mom I'd talk to my husband about it and hung up. That night, after he returned from work and we had dinner, I brought it up. I'd like you to ask Karen and Paul to stop asking for discounts and taking products without paying. It's causing trouble for my parents. I asked him to let me know. His response was, "What? What's the problem with that? They're family, so they should get a discount. It's only natural." No, it's not. Even if they're family, they're still customers and should pay like everyone else. Besides, taking products without paying is theft. It's not theft. We're telling them we're taking it. He completely ignored me and even started saying my parents were the ones being unreasonable. Since there was no other choice, I decided to speak to the PIL next time I saw them and sighed. It can't be helped. I murmured, sighing. Seeing this, what are you getting high and mighty about? It can't be helped. Stop it, or I'll divorce you. My husband said. Paul runs a company. He owns a floating restaurant, a business passed down from his grandfather. My husband planned a party at the floating restaurant, inviting his boss and colleagues. Normally, such a venue is more expensive than regular restaurants, but he bragged about getting it for a remarkably low price by asking Paul. Since then, my husband started coming home late every Friday. Sometimes he didn't come home at all. And he began to care more about his appearance, buying expensive suits, shirts, ties, and shoes. He also never let go of his mobile phone, even at home. I realized it was clear he was having an affair. 2 weeks after noticing, I decided to hire a detective agency to investigate. He always threatened with divorce. "I'm going to divorce you." But if I could prove his infidelity, I'd be the one to suggest it. On Mother's Day, I went to my husband's parents' house to give a gift. He said he had errands. I asked my husband what Karen liked, and he replied, "Mom likes gambling." Realizing I wouldn't get a useful answer, I safely chose a potted petunia. "Karen, it's Mother's Day, so this is a gift for you." When I gave it to Karen, saying, "Petunias? You expect me to take care of this? No way." Her reaction surprised me. "It's a popular Mother's Day gift." "I don't care if it's popular. I hate taking care of things. Can you take it back?" "Okay. Sorry." "Mary, you're so stupid. A mom who doesn't do housework won't take care of a petunia. You should have bought a branded bag." "Sorry." "You're such a useless DIL." Karen and Barbara said it as if they were triumphant. "Mary, by the way, you're terribly dressed today." "Really?" I thought I dressed properly. I was wearing a blue shirt and black pants. "A wife dressed like that, no wonder William is fed up." "Is it that bad?" "If you dressed like that, my boyfriend would never pay attention to you." Barbara, although always in sweats at home, wore flashy and beautiful clothes outside. Always looking stylish and well-groomed, with shiny hair. Looking good costs money, but I don't want to end up like Mary, ignored by men. I took the petunia and went home. I had put a lot of thought into the Mother's Day gift. And it was disheartening to have it rejected. Barbara's words were also a shock. Now it's 10 p.m., and my husband still hasn't returned. The following Saturday, he suddenly said, "You know, since housework is pretty much all you can do, why don't you become the cook at my parents' house?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, I want you to cook meals there every day." "Why should I do that? I have a job too, you know." "Come on, it's only like 3 hours at most. You can surely make meals at my parents' house. Mom's got a bad back, and she wants someone to cook for her daily. If you refuse, I'll divorce you." "I've been waiting for you to say that." "Huh?" In fact, a few days ago, I had received the results of the infidelity investigation I had requested. Of course, my husband was cheating. With a woman from his workplace. It was the temp worker who took over from me when I left. But there's a bit of a problem with that woman, which my husband doesn't seem to know yet. I planned to keep silent about it. And I had been waiting for the moment when he would mention divorce. "I already know about your affair. We're getting a divorce. You can't complain, right? You always threaten to divorce me. Since your infidelity is the reason, I'll be asking for compensation." "What? That's ridiculous. I'm not cheating." "Here's the evidence." I said that, presenting several photos in front of my husband. "It's your fault I cheated. You just do housework and don't care about your looks anymore. I don't like women like that. What's this about compensation? I should be the one asking for it." He was furious. There was no apology from him at all. That day, I packed my things and went back to my parents' house. I planned to handle things through a lawyer. My husband, realizing he had no choice, soon agreed to the divorce and even paid the compensation. Later, a former colleague, who I used to get along with, contacted me. She told me that my husband got fired for his affair with the temp worker. Turns out, the woman was actually the niece of the company's president. Once the family and the president found out, he was dismissed. It was all his own doing. After returning to my parents, I continued working in the housekeeping service. One morning, I saw news of a fire at a waterside restaurant. It was my husband's company's restaurant. They were preparing for business when a fire started due to cooking oil. Apparently, due to strict cost-cutting, there was a high turnover of staff, and an inexperienced staff member accidentally caused the fire. My ex-husband contacted me after the new year. He said he wanted to talk. I thought it wouldn't hurt to listen, so I agreed. The place he chose was a restaurant we used to go to before we were married. What's he up to now? When I saw my ex-husband again after so long, he had grown a beard and wore a casual shirt. He seemed different. What's up? You surprised me. Huh? You've changed a lot. Wearing a skirt. You look so stylish, Mary. Yes, I had been working on myself. I used to go to the hair salon only once every 6 months, but now I go every month. I also study magazines and the internet for fashion, consciously choosing more feminine clothes. The words of Barbara. No man would be interested in you. And my husband's words. You don't care about your appearance. From those words, I realized that this was indeed the case. It made me realize that I needed to change, especially if I wanted to find someone to remarry. Being praised by my ex-husband made me feel like I had accomplished my revenge. Yes, I wanted to show him how much I had changed. Then, my ex-husband told me about what happened to his family after our divorce. First, he was fired from his company. Barbara was dumped by her playboy boyfriend, leaving her with debts she had incurred for him. Karen had borrowed a huge amount of money for gambling and started a part-time cleaning job to pay it back. And Paul's company went bankrupt due to the fire. My ex-husband was still job hunting. His family had fallen on hard times. The reason he wanted to meet was that he had finally realized how wrong he was and wanted to apologize. I'm truly sorry. Yeah. Thank you. But Mary, you've really changed. You've become a beautiful woman. Thank you. After that, we had a pleasant meal talking about old times and then parted ways. As for me, I was hired as a staff member in the housekeeping service. I wanted to be more deeply involved in this work, so I decided to accept it. I wanted to get more involved in this work and have higher aspirations. There's still a lot ahead, but I'm looking forward to work and new encounters. The in-laws, who leave all the travel planning to me. Yet, I'm not included in those trips. Words spoken to me by my husband Gail upon his return from an overseas trip were, "Have a nice meal ready when I get back." That was it. Since Fael Stephen passed away, Gail has been brainwashed by Mil Veronica and Ciel Louise into becoming the main perpetrator of harassment against me. I obediently followed along, preparing delicious meals, waiting for the three of them. I'm Viola, 29 years old. Living with Gail's parents and his unmarried sister Louise, we were a household of 5. Gail works in sales at a pharmaceutical company, and I'm a pharmacist at a university hospital. We met at work. As we got to know each other, Gail asked me out, and we started dating. On our days off, we'd go on trips or play tennis, our shared hobbies. After 2 smooth years of dating, we got married. A year into our marriage, we began living with Gail's family. Initially, I was opposed to living together, wanting to enjoy married life just with Gail. However, the conversation about rebuilding the old family home quickly escalated to making it a two-family house, and before I knew it, we were all living together. Veronica, Louise, and I divided the household chores, as Gail and I both worked. I was mainly in charge of cleaning. Veronica cooked, and Louise did the laundry. We helped each other out when busy. My in-laws and Louise didn't bully me, and living together went unexpectedly well. But Stephen's presence was significant in this harmony. He adored me, Gail's wife, always looking out for me living under his roof. His strong presence as the family head made life comfortable. Everything changed when Stephen suddenly passed away. Stephen, who had been doing well until the day before, passed away, and the family was filled with great sadness. The family, including me who adored kind Stephen like a real father, was engulfed in great sorrow. Losing the head of the house so suddenly, the family's balance crumbled. I thought this was a time for the family to support each other. Veronica, Louise, and even Gail seemed to agree. However, to them, I was an outsider, not family. After Stephen's death, they openly started attacking me. "Viola, the meal isn't ready yet. You really are inefficient. It's ridiculous to divide chores. Housework should be done by the son's wife. From now on, you'll do it all alone." "That's right. Why should we have to do household chores? I'm working too, you know? You handle the housework." So went the unified voices of Veronica and Louise, pushing all the chores onto me. I worked too. I thought, but couldn't talk back, silently taking on all the chores. But working full-time and handling chores for 4 was overwhelming. To this, "The dinner isn't ready yet? You're too inefficient. Make sure you prepare 3 dishes for the meal. These clothes are wrinkled. They were expensive, so iron them for me, will you?" Veronica and Louise said freely. When I sought help from Gail, he said, "Just work harder, wife. As Mom says, you're inefficient." He completely ignored me and even joined in blaming me. All chores were dumped on me, and instead of thanks, I received constant criticism and sarcasm. I was treated like a slave by all 3. It's one thing for Veronica and Louise not to treat me, Gail's wife, as family. But what hurt most was Gail, who chose me as his wife, treating me like an outsider too. In Stephen's absence, I became a mere servant and financial contributor in the eyes of the family I thought I belonged to. On weekdays, I'm busy with work and house chores, and on weekends, I'm chasing after the remaining chores. Amidst this routine, I've been worn down day by the inconsiderate words from Veronica, Louise, and Gail. In addition to their harsh words, recently, they've started tripping me while I'm cleaning, or blatantly throwing away my cooking in the sink, complaining it's inedible. All 3 of them have become unbearably rude. And they always say it's because I'm Gail's wife. Just because I'm Gail's wife doesn't mean I deserve to be treated like a slave. As these days continued, about a year later, during a break at work, my boss approached me. "Viola, you seem to have lost quite a bit of weight this year, and you always look pale. Is something bothering you? I'm here to listen if you want to talk." Touched by her kind words, I found myself crying as I told her everything. When I finally let out all the verbal and physical abuse from Gail, Veronica, and Louise, my boss comforted me, saying, "You've been bravely facing tough times every day. Actually, I just got divorced recently due to my husband's psychological abuse. I was tired of always walking on eggshells and getting yelled at for the smallest things. The situation you're in is not right. If you want, I can refer you to a good lawyer." Hearing that my admirable and respected boss had gone through something similar was shocking. Her words inspired me to stand up for myself, to sever ties with such people. But simply divorcing Gail and distancing myself from them wasn't enough. I decided to carefully plan my revenge, to make them regret their actions a bit before leaving. However, I couldn't let my actions become a liability in the divorce. I decided to consult the lawyer recommended by my boss, ensuring I had the upper hand in the divorce. Following the lawyer's advice, I began documenting every instance of their verbal and physical abuse. Knowing that these records would be advantageous evidence when I finally left this family made their harassment less damaging. Apparently frustrated by my resilience, their behavior escalated day by day, and I started experiencing more direct violence, like getting hit or pinched for trivial reasons. When I had gathered enough evidence, "We're going on a family trip," suddenly Gail announced. Of course, by family, he meant everyone but me. Back when Stephen was alive, we used to go on trips once or twice a year as a family of 5. But after his death, it became a routine for the 3 of them to travel without me. "Prepare the hotel for our overseas trip," Gail demanded. For some reason, I, who wasn't going, had to arrange their accommodation. When I first heard this, "Why should I do that when I'm not even going?" I protested. Enraged. "Can't you do even that for your family? I can leave you anytime, you know. Just prepare it without complaining," he threatened. After that, I reluctantly arranged their trips just to avoid getting yelled at. Despite my anger at Gail's arrogance, I saw this as an opportunity. "Okay, I'll prepare the hotel," and calmly replied, "I'm going to end everything on this day." That's what I thought as I started preparing for the final stage of the plan. First, to let the 3 of them go on the trip smoothly without suspicion, I arranged a stay at a luxury hotel overseas. When I told them I booked a well-known luxury hotel, Gail said, "You're surprisingly competent for once." In a great mood. "It's times like these that you need to work hard. Make sure you don't slack off with the housework while we're gone," Veronica added. Their arrogant attitude didn't bother me much anymore, as I was progressing with my revenge plan. On the day the 3 of them left for the trip, I saw them off and immediately started my preparations. 2 nights and 3 days would be enough to finish everything. Then, on the morning of the 3rd day, I was woken up by a call from Gail. "Coming back today, make sure you prepare dinner. Let's see, steak and pizza sound good. Order something delicious. You can just have French fries," he ordered arrogantly. Over the phone, Louise also said, "We've been eating fancy meals at luxury hotels every day, so I'll brag about it when we get back. But before I brag, I want to take a shower, so make sure the shower room is clean." As usual, acting superior. To proceed with the plan without issues, I replied, "Understood," and hung up the phone. "Remember this," I muttered to myself and decided to check my luggage, which I had almost finished packing yesterday. Then, in the morning, the moving company arrived and started taking out my belongings. Yes, I was leaving this house with my things before the 3 of them returned from their trip. I planned to take everything I bought or brought with me. As I was packing my things, I remembered that most of the furniture and appliances were bought with the money my parents gave us as a housewarming gift. I had all the packed items moved to an apartment I rented near my parents' home. My parents' house is about an hour-and-a-half drive away from this house. After deciding on divorce, I gathered the courage to tell my parents everything. Then, my parents said in unison, "We can't forgive what our dear daughter has been through," and were furious, saying, "This is your home, so come back anytime." They gave me those warm words. However, my parents live in a condominium, and my sister has also returned home to receive support during her pregnancy. I had more belongings to take than I expected, and since I could afford to live alone in an apartment with my income, I decided to rent an apartment near my parents' home. After moving all my belongings, the house felt spacious. It made me realize how much furniture and appliances I had been forced to buy, despite it originally being my in-laws' house. Since I'm divorcing and becoming a stranger to those three, there's no reason to leave my things for them. With a clear heart, I began the other preparations. After arranging a colorful meal on the table, I sent a photo to Gale, saying, "Dinner is ready." He replied quickly. Gale quickly responded, "Well, that's passable. The meat looks juicy and delicious. The pizza, what, from a chain store? Well, I'll let it slide this time, especially since you prioritized my favorite steak." That was his message. Even at a time like this, Gale couldn't express gratitude honestly, and I was left speechless. I didn't reply afterward, as I had nothing else to say. By now, he must be showing the dinner photo to Veronica and Louise as well. The food looks very delicious in the photo. A treat for when they return. Muttering that to myself, I laughed mockingly, imagining the three of them shocked and frozen upon their return. Satisfied with my handiwork, I left the house with light steps, heading to my new apartment. I wonder what faces they will make when they return home to find me gone. And most of the furniture and appliances missing. I thought about placing a hidden camera as I started to settle into my new home. I decided to organize some things today and then return to my parents' home. It's not just the furniture and appliances that are missing. I wonder how they will react when they see what I spread out on the table. That's something I'm really curious about. I can easily imagine them turning red with anger. It's a pity I can't see it directly. After organizing my belongings, I returned to my parents' house, where my father, mother, and sister warmly welcomed me. "You really went through a lot. We've prepared all your favorite things today. Go take a shower first." Urged by my mother's voice, I went to take a shower. After taking a shower and checking my mobile phone, I saw dozens of missed calls from Gale and messages from Veronica and Louise. While looking at my phone, another call came in. Of course, it was Gale. When I answered the phone, "Hey, you! Finally answered the phone! What the hell did you do? What do you mean you didn't pay? I didn't know it was cash on delivery. Where are you now? When we got back from the trip, your stuff was gone, and so were the furniture and appliances. What's this on the table? On closer look, they're just samples. You can't eat samples, are you joking?" he yelled. Anticipating Gale's yelling, I held the phone away from my ear. "Did you like my present? Why should I pay for your trip? I'm not your bank," and replied with a sneer. And then, "Where am I?" "I'm back at my parents' home, where I belong," I said, interrupting me. "You should prioritize us since you married our son. You think you can just go back to your parents' house and get away with it? You took the appliances and furniture like a thief. Bring them back. And deal with this trash on the table," Veronica yelled. "I'm becoming a stranger to you, so there's no reason for me to leave my things in a stranger's house. I certainly won't be preparing meals for you. From now on, the three of you should live as a family and support each other. Any further communication should be through my lawyer. I won't respond to direct contact. By the way, I'll leave you the samples as a keepsake," I said, laughing while they were still yelling. I ignored the voices of Gale and the others and hung up. Calls and messages continued, but I didn't respond to any. The sample dishes I left on the table instead of real food were made at the food sample factory where my sister works. She's the manager there, so she handled it cleverly. They looked so real in the photos. I knew Veronica and Louise could cook, so it wouldn't be a big deal to them, but remembering their fury over the phone, I felt my little revenge was a great success. More importantly, the damage from the missing TV, washing machine, dresser, vacuum cleaner, and the unpaid hotel bill must be more significant. Most of the household expenses were covered by my salary. Louise contributed only a small allowance. And Gail spent his salary on his hobbies and clothes. Without much savings, buying new furniture and appliances will hurt them. But that's none of my concern now that I'm a stranger to them. The evidence I gathered after consulting my lawyer was perfect. With so much evidence, the lawyer was confident the divorce would be in my favor. I'll leave it to the lawyer to get as much compensation as possible. I might not get much, but being away from those three is the best outcome for me. Negotiations started with the lawyer in between, but Gail was unwilling to accept the divorce. Veronica and Louise, despite the evidence, refused to admit to their abusive behavior, calling it disciplining a son's wife. The discussion was going nowhere, and I was getting frustrated, but the lawyer told the three, "If this doesn't progress and goes to court, it'll become a social credibility issue." Then they reluctantly agreed to talk. They probably underestimated me, thinking I wouldn't seek help from anyone. Even though they knew their abusive behavior would be problematic, they didn't stop. The lack of Stephen's presence made their true colors more evident. Despite the divorce, Gail started showing up at my workplace and parents' house, asking to reconcile. "Viola, I'm truly sorry for everything. I took you for granted while you worked hard at your job and at home. From now on, I will support you, so let's cancel the divorce and stay together." He said this in front of my workplace, holding a bouquet of flowers, probably just to avoid paying compensation. "I've already asked you to avoid direct contact, right? If you come again, I'll call the police." As soon as Gail followed me, I went straight to the police station to discuss his stalking and decided to get a restraining order against him. However, undeterred, Gail, Veronica, and Louise somehow found out where my new apartment was and showed up. One day, while relaxing and watching TV, the doorbell suddenly rang. Looking through the peephole, I saw the three of them. I tried to ignore them at first, but they kept ringing the doorbell, causing a disturbance to the other residents, so I reluctantly answered. "Yes?" I said. "Viola, have you reconsidered after last time? We really should stay together." And then Gail started talking cheerfully. Following that, "Viola, we were wrong. We misunderstood that as Gail's wife, you were supposed to work for the family. Let's try to have a good relationship and live well together this time," Veronica added, conveniently arranging her words. "I don't know how you found this place, but I told you to stop direct contact, didn't I? No matter what you say, we are strangers now, and I have no intention of becoming family again," I replied. Gail's face twisted unhappily. "Don't get so full of yourself just because we've changed our attitude a bit. Come out already." He raised his voice. It's true that people's fundamental nature doesn't change. As I was thinking this, two men approached them from behind. "We're the feel-good police. You're not allowed to approach someone when there's a restraining order. Please come with us to the station," they said to Gail. I had contacted the police as soon as the doorbell rang. "You call the police? What are you doing? Explain to them and send them away," he yelled, but I decided to leave it to the police and turned off the doorbell. Later, Gail, Veronica, and Louise were taken to the police station for questioning and a stern warning. It seems that Veronica, being a housewife with only a small pension, and the salaries of Gail and Louise, were not enough to keep up with the loan and compensation payments, and they ended up selling the house. Now, they are living in a small apartment. As for me, I'm living alone while frequently visiting my parents' home. I'm currently enthralled by my newly born niece. I plan to continue cherishing my family.